Auditing Lancashire versus the police, the Chief Constable of Lancashire Constabulary.
In a recent video, I told you all about Marty Blackborough's latest setback. Marty thought he was in line for compensation. Instead, he's now been ordered to pay £4,000 in legal costs to the Metropolitan Police for failing to comply with a court order. You can imagine what a shock that was for me when I heard. It's well known that I'm one of Marty's many admirers. I just can't get enough of his legal acumen and just general all-round wisdom. In fact, it came as such a shock to me that I had to go for a lie down, to be honest. Now, you can imagine how doubly shocked I was to hear that another legal expert, Auditing Lancashire this time, is in even worse trouble on the legal costs front. Lancashire? Did I just say? Yes, Lancashire.
It's our identity, it's who we are, it's what we believe in, it's our values, our principles.
The identity of the Lancastrian is global and it's almost mythical.
The pride that people have in saying that they're from Lancashire. You don't often get people that say they're from a specific place. You say you're from Lancashire because you've got that sheer pride that that's where we're from and that's where we're flying the flag from.
I can't do a Lancashire accent, me. Here, let me have a go. Hey up, cocker. How do? It's cracking flags. I were right chuffed. I'm cowed. Be reet. I'm sweating cobs. Make us a brew. Chippy tea. Ta-ra. Nah, I'm not very convincing, am I? I think I better leave it to an expert.
Auditing Lancashire versus the police, the Chief Constable of Lancashire Constabulary.
Now, I know this is difficult to believe, and even as I say it, I still doubt it myself, and I'll probably get pushback on this from sensible people everywhere, but some good has come out of Lancashire. Only one or two things, mind you. Let me give you an example.
As a proud Boltonian, I grew up eating Lancashire hot pots, and it's always been a comforting dish for me.
So there you are. Let no one say that I'm slagging off Lancashire. I'm definitely not. I've even known one or two people from Lancashire who are all right. I know that's hard to believe. It's true though. But one person that has come out of Lancashire that I don't like particularly is Auditing Lancashire. Anyway, let's look at his video and see what this is all about.
Hello everyone, welcome back to another one with Auditing Lancashire.
It starts with this intro, but the sound in the original content was very poor. I've done my best with it.
Today we are in Preston, going to be arriving at Preston Crown Court. Auditing Lancashire versus the police, the Chief Constable of Lancashire Constabulary.
Auditing Lancashire versus the Chief Constable of Lancashire Constabulary. Right, so that sets things up. I assume that's a reference to the civil case being tried.
Our first day of trial, guys. It's something that's been going on for over 2 years outside Greenbank police station, and I was detained for doing unlawful activity, recording in a public place.
So you say. Well, that's your interpretation of it anyway.
Well, today we have come to fight for justice and accountability.
No, what you've actually gone there for is to try and scam Lancashire Constabulary and the taxpayers of Lancashire out of £1,000 with a bogus claim.
Over here in Preston at Preston Crown Court. As I say, Auditing Lancashire versus the Chief Constable of Lancashire Constabulary over at Preston Crown.
The Crown Court is for criminal cases, not civil, but like a lot of city centre court buildings nowadays, Preston has a combined court centre in which you'll find both the Crown Court and also the County Court. His case will be heard in the County Court, but it may well be that it's a Crown Court judge known as a circuit judge who will be conducting the case, and it could be that the trial is being conducted in this Crown Court part of the building, even though it's not the Crown Court that's hearing it, if you see the distinction.
We're here a little bit early today, so I thought I'd give you all a little update of what's going on before we head over to the court to fight our civil case against PC Court. So wish me luck, everybody. Day one of trial, let's see how it goes. I'll pick you back up outside court, and then I will see you after court.
He looks more like a 1980s era synth pop musician than someone going to court. Or maybe a gangster. Or a nightclub bouncer, perhaps.
Right guys, we've just come out of Crest and Crown, as you can see. We're on, just gone for lunch or a break, whatever. Jury trial has now kicked in. So when we go back in afterwards, find out what happens, and I'll catch you when I come back out, because I can't tell you nothing else until I find out myself. Plus I can't disclose anything at the moment in time because it will jeopardise the court case and contempt of court and stuff like that. But it's public, it's an open trial, so I can report outside of court, just not inside of court. But until I get back out.
He mentions there the involvement of a jury. Normally civil trials are not heard with a jury, but there are exceptions. Sections 66.2 and 66.3b of the County Courts Act 1984 provide for the right for either party to opt for a jury trial where the claim is for false imprisonment. This, I suppose, also serves to explain his earlier reference to the Crown Court, because it's probable they are sat in a Crown Court and there was a jury hearing the case along with a circuit judge.
I was ordered to pay Lancashire Police over £30,000 for doing the lawful activity, plus over £1,000 to HNK in fees.
Oh dear! You sued Lancashire Police for false imprisonment, assault and battery, presumably with the enthusiastic encouragement of HNK Solicitors. You thought you were on a good thing, but you've lost, and now you have to pay £30,575 in legal costs to Lancashire Police, and you have to pay your own solicitors, HNK. I thought HNK Solicitors were supposed to be good. First they let down my friend Marty, now they've let down Auditing Lancashire. What's going on, HNK Solicitors? Now he gives us screenshots of the pleadings that were submitted to court in support of his unsuccessful claim. These will have been drafted by HNK Solicitors. Let's go through them. You will see here that the claim by Auditing Lancashire was against the Chief Constable of Lancashire Constabulary for false imprisonment and trespass to his person, including assault and battery. In this part, we see that HNK Solicitors make no mention in these pleadings of the fact that Auditing Lancashire's YouTube channel is for auditing, and they do not provide a truthful account of his activities or any account of his activities. It is only in a later witness statement that he admits he's an auditor. I suspect that this claim is the reason that Auditing Lancashire changed the name of his channel to something more innocent sounding. He called it A Walk Through Lancashire's Wild Side. I wish these people would learn how to use the possessive apostrophe, but apart from that, I think he did that because he wanted to mask or play down the true nature of his activities. And interestingly, now that the case is over, he's changed the name of the channel back to Auditing Lancashire. Paragraph 8 of that witness statement I just referred to states that auditing is simply me videoing different parts of public space. Those are the words of Auditing Lancashire, which again is not very honest on his part, or on the part of HNK Solicitors for that matter, and is an attempt to pull the wool over the eyes of a jury, I should imagine. Unfortunately for Auditing Lancashire and all these other auditors, the police are slowly getting wise to them, and I suspect Auditing Lancashire, when he was cross-examined during the trial, was given a very hard time by lawyers for the police in front of the jury. What about paragraph 3 that you can see there of the pleadings? Is that a true account of what occurred? It says that the police officer just grabbed him. Well, let's take a look at what happened.
Taking pictures of people's private vehicles.
Order?
You're taking pictures of people's private vehicles.
I don't understand.
We can see straight away that the policeman didn't just grab Auditing Lancashire, because we've just heard a conversation during which they're not in physical contact with each other. And HNK Solicitors do acknowledge this later in their pleadings. We can also surmise from that clip that Auditing Lancashire is up to the usual tricks and sillybuggery of an auditor, pretending to be foreign on this occasion, filming an obscure building in the dark for no reason other than to provoke a response from the police. This again is an offence of obstructing a police officer contrary to section 89(2) of the Police Act 1996, because Auditing Lancashire is diverting the police from their duties intentionally and on purpose. A link to my playlist on that topic is found in the video description.
I'm sure you do.
I don't speak English.
The last time I checked, broad Lancastrian accents are still English. You're not convincing anybody here.
You speaking it?
It seems Sherlock Holmes can step aside.
What language do you speak?
Bullcrap is the native language spoken by Auditing Lancashire and all auditors, with the exception of my friend Marty, who is well known for his enviable, lucid insights and consummate articulation. So leave my Marty alone, all you haters.
Why are you filming me? It's not a good idea to take pictures of people's private vehicles.
I do hope something's going to happen and happen soon, and that he's not going to stand there filming in the dark for the rest of the night. But if he is, I hope he's brought a flask and maybe a Lancashire hot pot even.
As a proud Boltonian, I grew up eating Lancashire hot pots, and it's always been a comforting dish for me.
What's your name?
Pardon?
What's your name?
Why?
Why? Because I'm asking for your name.
You don't have to give you my name.
You're behaving suspiciously around the
No,
police station.
don't touch me. What do you think you're doing?
I fully support the police officer's actions there for the following reasons. First, Auditing Lancashire refused to explain himself and tried to pretend not to speak English. It is not a crime to refuse to talk to the police. It's also not a crime per se to lie to the police or mislead the police, as long as in doing so you are not committing an actual crime such as fraud or an attempt to pervert the course of justice. Otherwise you can lie all you want to the police. But by doing so, by being vague and cagey and by lying, he has raised suspicion. Second, Auditing Lancashire was behaving suspiciously. Filming a police station and cars in a car park in the dark is not in itself illegal, nor should it be, and no one is suggesting it is, not even that policeman. But in the context of that situation, and given his behaviour, Auditing Lancashire's actions raise a reasonable suspicion that he could be up to no good, that there may be something worth investigating further. At the very least, he's done himself no favours. Third, we've discussed simulated hostile reconnaissance before in relation to Auditing Britain. Again, see my channel playlist on obstruction of the police. Auditing Lancashire is up to the same trick. He's deliberately acting suspiciously to attract police attention, in the belief that the police will think he may be a terrorist or harbour some other criminal intent, and therefore cause a scene and a bit of drama that he can film for content.
Get your hands off me now.
No.
Get your hands off me now.
You see, what sometimes happens when the police arrest you or detain you for a stop and search is that they put hands on you. It is possible to arrest or detain someone without putting hands on them, and that can sometimes happen. But in this situation, there is clearly a risk that the suspect will flee, or there may be a risk to the officer's safety, so the officer puts hands on him. It's not difficult to understand.
No.
Who do you think you are?
I think
Who do you think you are? You can't touch me like this, mate.
I'm a policeman.
You can't touch me like this. Who do you think you are?
A policeman can put hands on you and arrest you and take you into custody or detain you for the purpose of a stop and search, provided the relevant law is being followed. None of it is a surprise to me given your behaviour, Auditing Lancashire. In this case, Section 1142 of the Terrorism Act 2000 states that a constable may, if necessary, use reasonable force for the purpose of exercising a power conferred on him by virtue of the Terrorism Act 2000. Section 117 of the Police and Criminal Evidence Act 1984 also allows the police to use reasonable force in these circumstances. The force used was proportionate and necessary and therefore reasonable. If you want to play silly buggers, then eventually this will happen. Of course, Auditing Lancashire may have been hoping for all this. It's a bit of drama for his channel, and his mind will now be turning to the prospect of compensation and HNK Solicitors. It's an engineered stunt, and Auditing Lancashire will be of the view that the policeman has fallen into his trap.
Huh? Think you're abusing your powers, mate?
The situation isn't pleasant, but the officer is not abusing his powers. He is simply carrying out his duties. The only person who is abusing anything here is Auditing Lancashire, who has deliberately engineered a situation to divert the attention, time and resources of Lancashire Police.
Come here.
I'll ask you to let go of me now. I'm a member of the public now. Let go of me now.
You are definitely not a member of the public. You are not there in that capacity. You are not a journalist or some innocent photographer. This is not a misunderstanding. The officer is acting entirely within his duties against a suspected criminal.
Yeah, do you understand what a Terrorism Act is?
What do you mean, Terrorism Act?
This is...
Hey, listen, get off me now, officer.
No.
Get off me now.
The officer mentioned the Terrorism Act. So this is a stop and search pursuant to Section 43, which allows a constable to stop and search a person whom he reasonably suspects to be a terrorist to discover whether he has in his possession anything which may constitute evidence that he is a terrorist. Section 41B of the Terrorism Act 2000 defines a terrorist as someone concerned in the commission, preparation or instigation of acts of terrorism. I think the officer has reasonable grounds to suspect that Auditing Lancashire is a terrorist. Let's go back to paragraph 2 of the pleadings put together by HNK Solicitors. What it claims here is that the officer did not rely on Section 43 at the time of the detention of Auditing Lancashire, but that is clearly not true. The officer did not specifically refer to Section 43 or a stop and search, but there is no requirement that he should do so. The detention of Auditing Lancashire for the purpose of a stop and search was entirely justified and the officer did nothing wrong. Paragraph 2 goes on to claim that even if it is found that the officer did rely on Section 43 at the time of the detention, the officer was still acting unlawfully because he did not have a genuine suspicion that Auditing Lancashire was a terrorist. That of course is nonsense because the officer clearly did have a genuine suspicion that Auditing Lancashire was up to no good, and you've just heard the officer refer to the Terrorism Act, by which he means the Terrorism Act 2000 and the stop and search power in Section 43. He was using the expression Terrorism Act as a shorthand for that. It follows that the argument in paragraph 4 that you see here that refers to a trespass to person also fails because the officer had a lawful reason for detaining Auditing Lancashire. It's all just lies and rubbish from Auditing Lancashire and HNK Solicitors.
No.
Get off me now, officer.
I've asked you what
officer,
you were doing.
Get off me now.
I've asked you what you were doing.
Well, get off me now.
No.
Get off me.
No.
You know you can't do me like this. Get off me and we'll speak calmly.
No.
All right? Yes.
I tried to speak calmly to
Get
you.
off me now and we'll speak calmly.
No, you're
Get
the one
off me
who's
now.
shouting.
Listen, get off me now and we will speak calmly.
This just reinforces what rubbish paragraph 3 of the pleadings from HNK Solicitors is. You can see that the officer is not committing any sort of battery. Yes, in theory, battery can involve just momentary contact with somebody, but the officer is holding the suspect for a reason. It's part of his duties, and it's not as if he's got the wrong person, or he's completely got the law wrong, or his facts, or something like that. I'm sure Auditing Lancashire is not a terrorist, and please understand that I am in no way suggesting that he is, and it does mention in the pleadings that a police incident log entry referred to him as a possible auditor. But none of that is the point. It doesn't matter if the officer is right or wrong about Auditing Lancashire specifically being a terrorist. The officer is not a mind reader, and being an auditor and being a terrorist are not mutually exclusive things anyway. The point is that the officer has ample grounds for reasonable suspicion, and he can do this. The officer clearly thought that what he was doing was necessary, so whether you or I believe it to be necessary is not very relevant and is an impossible question to answer definitively anyway, because we were not faced with the situation that the officer faced. The officer can exercise judgment, and we're only talking a matter of 5 minutes, as HNK Solicitors have conceded.
There's no need for this. This is abuse of power, officer.
Why is it an abuse
There's
of
no
power?
need for this.
This is where we need to make a point about language. One of the things I've noticed about activist laymen, especially people who aren't educated in the law and aren't good at looking things up, is that they quickly resort to hyperbole. Even if we imagine that the officer is completely in the wrong here, accusing the officer of abuse of power is hyperbole. This is not a Hollywood film. The officer isn't Dirty Harry. All you had to do was be a little bit courteous and explain to the officer briefly what you were up to and why. It would have taken you 10 seconds. It's not an infringement of your civil liberties. It's to be expected when you're out in the dark photographing an ordinary police station and a car park at the police station. Instead, we have this melodrama, and I don't believe it's just for the camera. It is engineered for this channel, but I also think it's about his ego and his own insecurities. If you can't calm down and deal with things rationally, you're just making a fool of yourself.
What's he doing?
Pardon?
So this
I'm just filming. I'm just filming the police station. And he's coming out and grabbing me like this.
filming car registrations over here.
Yeah.
You'll have noticed also that suddenly he can speak English pretty fluently. That was quick. The lies and dissembling do nothing to allay the officer's suspicions and concerns. You only have to stop and reflect about this and put yourself in the position of the officer to realise the dilemma he has here. He's faced with a strange man who's wearing a mask and dressed in camouflage, namely combat-style clothing. Auditing Lancashire himself says it was a black tracksuit and mask. Filming a police station and cars in the police station car park in the dark, and pretending to be a foreigner who can't understand English, and which is clearly a pretense, which means he won't explain what he's doing. What should the officer do? Ignore it? Ignoring it means making assumptions. Assumptions have a habit of making a fool of you. We don't pay police officers to go around making assumptions.
Listen, you can't touch me like this.
Yes, they can, and they are. How does it feel to be £32,000 in hock to Lancashire Constabulary and HNK Solicitors?
He's refused to give me his details.
Yeah.
I don't have to give you my details.
Do you understand what hostile reconnaissance is?
What do you mean I'm not doing no hostile reconnaissance?
You may not be, but you definitely look like you are, and I think that's enough. I think the officer is right.
Why are you grabbing me like this, officer?
Because I'm asking for your name.
What's your name, fella?
Pardon?
What's your name?
As I've often mentioned on this channel, I'm an amateur photographer myself, emphasis here on the word amateur. If I was in any comparable position to that which Auditing Lancashire is in, and I was just an innocent photographer caught up in a misunderstanding with the police, I would be anxious to cooperate. That's not because I like the police, it's not because I'm a bootlicker or obsequious to authority, it's purely because you have to be objective about it and recognise that the police are just doing their job. I wouldn't necessarily give the police my name unless I had to, but I would certainly offer them an explanation.
I don't have to give you my name. Have you suspected me of a
It's the
crime?
middle of the night. What are you up to?
Have you suspected me of a crime?
It's the middle of the night. What are you up to?
Have you suspected me of a crime?
What are you up to at the middle of the night?
Have you suspected me of a crime, officer?
Strictly speaking, the officers don't have to suspect Auditing Lancashire of a crime to conduct a stop and search pursuant to Section 43. They only have to reasonably suspect he is a terrorist. A technical distinction, of course, but the officers don't, in so many words, have to justify their actions on the terms that Auditing Lancashire is demanding.
I'm asking you what you're doing with a mask on at the middle of the night, sneaking
Right.
around a police
Refusing to
station.
give you
I'm not
details.
sneaking around the police station, no.
Notice the verbal evasion from Auditing Lancashire. Instead of simply explaining himself, which would probably take about 10 seconds, Auditing Lancashire focuses on a turn of phrase used by the other officer. Yes, he wasn't literally sneaking around a police station, but you still haven't given an explanation for what you're up to. For instance, you could tell them about your YouTube channel, or will that incriminate you? If the officers look at your YouTube channel, will they realise that you go around doing this all the time and it's all a socially engineered stunt or setup that wastes the time and resources of police officers?
I'm not sneaking around the police station, I'm filming.
Filming what?
Pardon?
At the moment you're filming
I'm
us,
filming, well obviously, I'm in a public place, I'm legally allowed to film. You've got no say in that,
People's
officer.
car registrations.
Pardon?
People's car registrations.
People's car registrations. For one, I've not recorded the car registrations, and two, if I really wanted to, I could, but I haven't.
I'm seeking to establish that.
Yes, legally, Auditing Lancashire can film in public, and it's only right and proper that that is the position. No one wants it otherwise. Yes, there is nothing illegal at all about filming car registrations. Nor should there be. When I was younger, I seem to recall some people had a hobby of writing down car registrations, a bit like how train spotters note the serial numbers of trains. It wasn't my hobby, I hasten to add. Nobody is suggesting that this sort of thing is illegal or morally wrong, and nor should we suggest that. But what's missing from Auditing Lancashire is some insight and recognition of the context within which he is undertaking this activity, and why the situational context and his own manner, demeanour and behaviour add up to a basis for reasonable suspicion that he could be a terrorist or up to some other sort of wrongdoing. One problem with auditors is that they rely on word games to get themselves out of situations and convince their fans that they're doing nothing wrong. But when you stop and look at these scenarios with an honest and objective frame of mind, and also consider things from the viewpoint of police officers and other people like security guards, you can see why the auditors keep getting themselves into trouble. That's before we get into the simple truth that auditors want this drama anyway. They engineer it for their content.
What?
I'm seeking to
Well,
establish...
there's no need to grab me like this, officer.
Well,
Are you detaining me? Are you arresting me? Am I under arrest?
At the moment you're detained.
What do you mean I'm detained? Under what act? Why am I detained?
That has already been explained to you. Admittedly, the officer did not refer to Section 43 specifically. He should have done, but he doesn't have to. The officer's failure to do so may affect an evaluation of the reasonableness of his actions, but as we now know, the court sided with the officer completely.
Why are you detained?
Yeah, under
so I can
what?
speak to you.
What?
So I can speak to you.
Right, but you've not given me a reason.
If I let you go...
You've not given me a reason.
Well, so I can speak to you.
Pardon?
Because you weren't speaking to me.
But you just said I'm detained.
Yeah.
Under what law? Under what act? What are you detaining me for? Why are you detaining me? Why have you got your hands on me?
I don't know at the moment. But
What do you mean you don't know? Well, let go of me then. There's no need to touch me like that, officer.
There you go. What's
There's
your
no
name?
need for that.
What's your name? Stop filming me then.
I don't have to stop filming you. I'm in a public place. I'm legally allowed to film.
Right, alright, just leave it. It's fine. Just
Fine.
leave it.
Are you happy with that?
Happy with that, leave it.
Right.
Fine. Just wait.
So what's your collar number, officer?
4005.
4005. I'll be putting a complaint in about you.
Why?
What do you mean, why?
I'm doing
Because
the right thing.
Because you've just come out, you've grabbed me, you haven't even come over to me and talking to me like a human being.
Actually, he did. He didn't grab you straight away, we saw that earlier. I don't always defend the police. Even when I'm criticising auditors, I sometimes will also criticise the actions of police officers and also security guards and business owners and other victims of auditors, if I think their behaviour is wrong or incorrect as well. But here I must defend the officer. He didn't handle the situation perfectly, but who would? Which of us can honestly say that we could have handled it better? Yes, he has training, and he did make use of the training. He rightly detained the suspect. Then, as his realisation grew that the suspect was probably not a threat, and his colleague chimed in and said that they should let the matter go, he then released the suspect and the detention ended. All of this was permissible under Section 43, and it turns out the court agreed. Indeed, the jury were unanimous in rejecting the claim in every single particular. It was total and utter defeat for Auditing Lancashire and a complete humiliation. The judge agreed with the jury and went further, calling the behaviour of Auditing Lancashire utterly unacceptable. That's as complete a defeat of an auditor as you'll ever see. The judge remarked that the behaviour of Auditing Lancashire was designed to provoke the officer, which is deadly accurate. This is clearly a very smart judge, and a smart jury who saw right through the tactics of an auditor, which is refreshing. I think one of the factors in the judge's decision was the excellent statement given by the officer. You can see it here. By all means, pause the video to read it. It's a very detailed and thorough statement.
You just run over to me and grab me for no reason whatsoever, officer.
Speaking to me like this.
What?
Why are you speaking to
What do you mean? Why am I speaking to you like this? Have you just seen the way you've just approached me, officer? That is abuse of your power, that.
Is it?
As I've shown you, it wasn't an abuse of power by the officer. What the auditor is doing now is continuing the interaction because he thinks it will make good content. You will get some know-it-alls, including people commenting on my channel, who will say that the officer should not have allowed himself to be baited like this and should at least now walk away and ignore it. But the officer's question is a good one. Why is the auditor speaking to him like that? Why is the auditor using this hyperbolic language referring to abuse of power and whatnot? It's because the auditor had no interest in photography in the first place. His real purpose is to bait the officer by simulating hostile reconnaissance. In doing so, I repeat, the auditor is obstructing the police, which is a criminal offence contrary to Section 89(2) of the Police Act 1996.
Yeah, it is. And then you detain me. So you detain me and detain me under what? You did not tell me what you detained me under.
Do I?
Pardon?
I don't know if
You mentioned Terrorism Act and then you mentioned...
I mentioned it.
Yeah,
So he did tell you what you were detained under. So what's the problem?
yeah, you mentioned it. So what, you're saying that I'm a terrorist? Or are you suspecting me of being a terrorist,
Are you
officer?
just trying to trip me up here, Bob?
No, you're the one who's come out and approached me like this. I wasn't even speaking to you. I was not speaking to you. Oh, it will be, mate. It will be. Don't you worry about that. Don't you worry about that, and you can't do nothing about it, officer. I'm in a public place. I am legally allowed to film in a public place. What I can see. Oh, I do, yeah.
Right.
Been doing this for a long time, officer.
Thank you very much.
Unfortunately, you have no clue, do you? Are you a sergeant or just an officer?
You tell me.
Pardon?
You tell me. I've given you a collar number.
Yeah, you give me your collar number, but I'd like to know, are you a sergeant or just an officer? You're refusing to identify that, officer.
Give you a collar number.
Oh, yeah, you have, but I'm just asking you, are you an officer or a sergeant? Is that it?
Innocent people who are just doing their jobs don't have to answer questions like that. People who go around deliberately acting like terrorists to waste the time and resources of the police do have questions to answer. We see here that Auditing Lancashire was claiming a very small amount of damages, not exceeding £1,500, yet he now faces a cost bill of £31,750. Remember that £30,575 of that is money forked out by the taxpayer for the legal fees of the lawyers acting for the Lancashire Constabulary, which they now have to try and recover from Auditing Lancashire. I think we can see why police forces are often keen to settle with auditors and pay them off with a few hundred or few £1,000s rather than go to trial, even when the auditor's claims are lies and nonsense. It's not just the legal costs either, it's the whole inconvenience and cost of having to take detailed statements from the officers involved. It's often best from a pragmatic and financial point of view simply to pay out. I oppose this practice, and something does need to be done about it because auditors are manipulating the legal profession and the civil justice system to defraud the taxpayer. It's good that on this occasion an auditor has got his just desserts. Unless Auditing Lancashire can show that his solicitors were negligent, he is fully responsible for these costs, totalling £31,750, and he cannot ignore it, and Lancashire Constabulary have 6 years to enforce their judgment and recover the monies from him. I do think HNK Solicitors bear responsibility for this, and in all seriousness, if I was in Auditing Lancashire's shoes, I would be refusing point blank to pay those costs and putting the blame back on the solicitors. I would be carefully scrutinising any paperwork issued by HNK Solicitors to see if he was warned about these costs. They do claim that they gave him detailed advice on the cost risks, but I don't think that they can get out of this completely. No one seriously thinks that Auditing Lancashire drafted those pleadings. This is on HNK Solicitors, and it's about time some of these law firms started taking their share of the responsibility for what has been going on here and for the behaviour of their rather undistinguished clientele. Some of them are treading on thin ice, as are their clients of course.